This is your SAT Essentials in hopefully 15 minutes. Quick note, this is a recap, not a replacement for your practice. Let's get into it. Slope is rise over run, the steepness of the line, which is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. When slope is positive, line goes up. When the slope is negative, line goes down. When the slope is zero, it's a horizontal flat line. When it's undefined, it's a vertical line. Straight up or down. Know your slope intercept form. Y equals to mx plus b, m being our slope, b being our y-intercept. Know your point slope form. Y minus y1 equals to mx minus x1. This is the formula to use when you know a point and the slope. Know your standard form. Ax plus by equals to c. The slope of standard form is negative a over b. The y-intercept is c over b. Quick example, 4x plus 2y equals 10. The slope is negative 4 over 2, which is equals to negative 2. And the y-intercept is 10 over 2, which is equals to 5. Parallel and perpendicular slope. Parallel slope is the same. Perpendicular is the negative reciprocal. Flip the fraction, change the sign. Possible outcomes from line intersections. One solution is when there's an intersection of two lines. Remember that the slopes are always different. No solution means the lines are parallel. Parallel lines never touch, so no solution. They have the same slope but different y-intercept. They'll never meet. Infinite solutions, exactly the same line, that's the same slope and the same y-intercept. It's literally the same equation. Inequality flips, multiplying or dividing by a negative. Flip the sign, don't miss the easy points. Plotting inequality lines. Solid line is when you have a or equals to, which means it includes the line. Dash line means it's strictly inequality. We exclude the line. Absolute value. Split the equations to find both destination. In our example, absolute value becomes x minus 5 equals to 10 or negative 10. Solve for both destination. If the absolute value of anything is equals to the negative, it means that there's no solution, as distance can never be less than 0. Translation. Y equals to f of x minus h plus k. Inside the parentheses is a liar. Minus moves right, plus moves left. Outside is the truth, plus is up, minus is down. The shape stays the same, it just picks up and moves. What happens when you meet a reflection? Flip the graph like a mirror. Y equals to negative f of x, which means you flip it over the x-axis. When it's y equals to f of negative x, that means you flip it over the y-axis. Know your vertex form. Y equals to a times x minus h squared plus k. The center hk is right there. Just flip the sign of the number inside. That hk is your peak or valley. Vertex coordinate x equals to negative b over 2a. When you're stuck in standard form, use this to find the center instantly. Plug that number back for y. Check your a value. Positive opens up, negative opens down. Your standard quadratic form. In it, the a tells you if it opens up or down, and c is your y-intercept. But to find the vertex, you need the formula x equals to negative b over 2a. Know your quadratic formula. Use it when factoring is impossible. Discriminants. D equals to b squared minus 4ac. It tells you how many real roots you actually have. Positive is when you have 2 roots. 0 is when you have 1. And negative is a floating parabola. No real solution. Sum and product. Sum equals to negative b over a. Product is equals to c over a. If the question asks for a sum sum of all solutions. Don't factor, just use negative b over a. Exponential function, a represents the initial amount, r is the decimal rate, and x is the independent variable usually representing the time. B is your growth factor. If b is greater than 1, it's growth. If it's between 0 and 1, it's decay. Quick example, 1,000 at 5% for 4 years. Substitute it in your equation. 1,000 times 1 plus 0.05 to the power of 4. Solve to get the answer. Growth happens. Think of it as 100% plus 5%. You keep what you have plus the extra. Another example, 20,000 at negative 10% for 2 years. Sub it into your equation. 20,000 times 1 minus 0.1, which is equals to 0.9 to the power of 2. Solve to get the answer. Decay happens when you lose 10%, you are only keeping 90% of the value. That's why we get 0.9. Know your exponential rule, product and power rules. Multiply the bases, add the power, power to a power, multiply them. Quotient rules, keep the bases and subtract the exponents. It's always the top value minus the bottom value. Negative exponent. A negative exponent means it's just on the wrong floor. Move it up or down to make it positive. It never makes the base negative. Fractional exponent, power over roots. The top stays as power and the bottom tells you which root to take. If you see a tree on the bottom, it's a cube root. Percent symbol literally means over 100 and off means multiply. Find 20% of 80. You write 20 times 1 over 100 times 80 and you will end up with 16. For an increase, multiply your base by 1 plus rate. If 80 is increased by 20%, it becomes 80 times bracket 1 plus 20 over 100 and you will end up with 96. Decrease, use the same exact logic, just subtract the rate. 80 decreased by 20% translates to 80 times bracket 1 minus 20 over 100 and you will end up with 64. Percent change is always the difference over the start. Going from 50 to 75, your gap is 25 and your starting point is 50. 25 over 50 is 0.5. Since we need a percent answer, multiply by 100 to bring the symbol back. That's a 50% jump. Find percent. The phrase out of is just a hidden fraction bar. 15 out of 60 becomes 15 over 60, which divides to 0.25. Like the previous example, we are looking for the percent, so multiply it by 100 to get the symbol back. Our answer is 25%. Know your one variable. Mean is your average. Just sum up all of your values and divide by the total count of numbers. Here, 16 divided by 4 gives us 4. Median is the absolute middle value, but you must line them up in order first. Cross them off from the outside in. Since we're stuck between two trees, our middle is 3. Mode is just the most frequent number in the set. Simply scan the list for the value that repeats the most. Our trees shows up twice, so 3 is the most. Range measures the total spread of your data by taking the largest value minus the smallest value. 8 minus 2 gives us a range of 6. Standard deviation measures the spread. 0 calculation needed here. Just remember, a high standard deviation means the data is widely spread out, while a low standard deviation means it's tightly bunched around the center. Probability. Out of all possibility, how often does this happen? Probability is what you want over the total. To get the winning ticks, there's 5 out of 25, which is 20% chance. Trigonometry, Pythagoras theorem, only for for right angle triangle, know your SOHCAHTOA, which is sine is opposite over hypotenuse, cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, tangent is opposite over adjacent, standard SOHCAHTOA. Trigonometry identity mirror, sine x is always equal to cos 90 minus x. Sine and cosine are best friends. They always want to total 90 degrees together. For 30, 60, 90 triangle, short leg opposite 30 degree. For 45, 45, 90 degrees, legs are equal, hypotenuse is square root 2 times longer. Know your angles. They cross vertical angles. When two line crosses creates a mirror, the angles opposite each other are identical. Parallel Z pattern, parallel lines. Look for Z patterns in parallel lines. The angle inside the corners are always equal. Exterior angles. External angle of a triangle is always the sum of the two adjacent or opposite angles inside the triangle. Going to radians, multiply your degrees by pi over 180. In our example, 60 degree multiplied by pi over 180 gives us pi over 3. Going to degrees, multiply your radians by 180 over pi. Quick example, pi over 2 times 180 over pi. Pi's cancel out instantly. You're left with 180 divided by 2, which gives us 90 degrees. SAT circle Bible. Radius is your distance from the center to the edge. Diameter is the full length across. Divide diameter by 2 to get your radius. That's your master number. The total length of the crust is the circumference, which is 2 pi r. The total space inside the circle is area, which is pi r squared. Memorize these two. For a slice, take your angle over 360 and multiply it by the circumference to get the arc length, or by the area to get the sector area. Circle equation: x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals to r squared. If the center is 3 and negative 4, flip those signs to get minus 3 and plus 4. Always square the radius. 5 becomes 25. If two angles shares the same arc, the one at the center is exactly double the one at the edge. Find the hidden 90s. Radius touching the edge or a triangle on the diameter means a right triangle. That's your cue for Pythagoras theorem. A squared plus b squared equals to c squared. Follow for more SAT speed run content. And that is the essential foundation. Huge thanks for watching. I'm Nico, a digital SAT coach. I work one-on-one to help students boost their score and truly master the math section. I limit my availability to just a few open slots to focus completely on maximizing students' outcome. Check the pinned comment for all the details on how to work together, study the logic, stay consistent, and hope to see you guys with your dream score. Good luck on the test day. You've got this.